Hello guys and welcome back to Cute Smiling Adventures, and today I'm out on a little gravel ride, just chilling, having a little exploration, and I had a really good question the other day on one of my videos. So the question was, I put it up on screen, but it was basically, have I ever been stuck or stranded while on a ride? And well, the simple answer to that is yes. But in this video I'm going to share 5 of my most memorable experiences of being stuck, stranded in less than ideal situations. Let's get into it. Okay, number 1. Okay, so the first story I'm going to tell you about getting stranded on a bike was, I was a young, probably about 18 years old, and I was about to set off on my first, I would say, ultra-y kind of distance, 250 miles a day for a week type challenge. Now, I had done a couple week tours where I'd gone away for like a week riding about 100 miles, 150 miles a day, no problem. This was different. I wanted to go bigger, I wanted to go further, and I wanted to go as hard as I possibly could. So I decided to give myself a challenge, and that challenge was Land's End to John O'Groats and then back to Land's End. But I didn't want to do it slowly, I wanted to do it over 7 days. To do that, you need to average about 250 miles a day. Now, to do this challenge, I was currently working, so I had to book time off in advance. So I picked March. Now, March in the UK is either really good or really crap. But I didn't want to go in the dead of the summer where it was too hot, so I wanted it to be a bit cool. So I decided March was the go-to month. Now, the day came. I arrived at Land's End. It was raining, it was really, really wet, but what could I do? I was already down there. So the day came to set off and it was still raining, and that whole day it did not stop raining. The roads were flooded, it was freezing cold, it was windy, it was just horrible. After probably about 20 hours of riding, I just needed to stop, get off the bike and have something to eat and warm up, because at this point I was seriously cold. Colder, and in a worse way than I thought I actually was, because I went and got a hot drink, and as I drank that hot drink I just collapsed. I literally collapsed while going ambulance, and yeah, that was the first time I got stuck. I ended up in hospital. It wasn't a fun time and it was quite dangerous, and that is actually why I carry one of these space blankets now, because you never know when I'm going to save a life. So that was my first encounter of being stranded, and probably the scariest one. Before I go and do a little bit more riding, I'm going to tell you the second story of when I got stranded. And it seems to me Cornwall, it must be cursed or something for me, because the second one ended up being stranded in Cornwall. It's a short story, but here goes. My mum and my granddad and my little sister were in Cornwall on a little holiday. I can't remember exactly where it was, but I decided that I was going to call in sick from work because I wanted to go down there. So I did that. I got on my bike. It was going to be a 250 mile bike ride, I think it was around that. Now, the day started off beautiful and it was a lovely day. Now, I probably about 200 miles in, and at this point I was up at a place called Bodmin. Now, if you know the UK and you know Bodmin, when you're up there, the weather can change pretty quickly. The whole day it was a pretty clear day, sunny, bit overcast, but pretty much perfect. I got to Bodmin and for some reason it just decided to rain, and then loads and loads of fog just surrounded me, and at this point I couldn't even see my hand this close to my face. So I had lights and everything, but I just decided I'm calling it there. I'm not risking riding the next 50 miles like that because it was just utterly ridiculously dangerous. So I had to obviously make the call to my mum. Can you pick me up? I'm stranded up at Bodmin. We've all done it, haven't we? Okay, I'm gonna do a bit more riding and I'll tell you some more stories about me getting stranded. The third story that I was stranded on my bike that I'm going to tell you. To give you a bit of context, there is a ride called the Dorset Dash, and now it goes from Oxford, where I used to live, to Christchurch in Dorset, just not far from where I live now. And it's basically an overnight ride through the night. It's done on the shortest night of the year, and essentially it's like a bit of fun race to beat the sun, to rise, to go for a swim in the sea. This ride seems cursed for me because the first time I did this ride, we were riding through the night and my crank fell off. It literally fell off. It was stuck to my cleat on my shoe, and it was just ridiculous. I was just like, what the hell is going on? What happened is the crank bolt had somehow come loose. It had gone flying off somewhere. We luckily managed to find it. There was about 6 or 7 of us just like looking with it with a torch. Finally found it. Fortunately, the bolt there was for a Campag one, and it was massive and nobody had the correct size Allen key. So luckily we managed to come up with the idea of putting lots of Allen keys together to just about tighten up. I think we even might have put a bit of, yeah, we definitely put a bit of duct tape over the crank bolt, and I managed to ride all the way to Christchurch that day and then ride back. But that is not the actual story of me getting stranded, because that story I made it. Just the story that I got stranded was I got asked to do the ride again. I think this was like a year or two later with a friend of mine. Unfortunately, on the day that it came round, the only wheel I had for my road bike that was working was a tubular wheel. Now, we said to ourselves, it's the front wheel, you never get a puncture on the front wheel, so it'll be fine. But little do we know, after about maybe 50 miles, halfway into the ride, it went tss. That dreaded sound of a puncture. We tried to put some sealant in it, it didn't work. So me and my friend decided we're gonna bail, we're gonna cycle with, well, I'm gonna cycle with this flat tubular tire to the nearest train station. It was a tiny little train station in the middle of nowhere, and we basically ended up waiting there from about 1, 2 in the morning to about 6, 7 a.m. in the morning. We basically took it in turns to fall asleep so we could protect the bikes. I, funnily enough, had come from work, so I had some chef whites that I was getting in because it was warmer, and that was the time that I got stranded at a train station on a small little 100-mile ride. The story I'm going to tell you about getting stranded while on a bike is one that you can actually go and watch, because I was actually making a video for this channel and I was cycling from Bournemouth to Oxford, much off-road as possible, and then I was going to cycle back as well off-road. I made it the one way, I camped, I made it. The second day came, nice and early, I was riding along, no problems, thought this was in the bag. And then for some reason, on the flattest section of ground, I managed to fall off and land in a thorn bush. That's right, I landed in a thorn bush. You can go see that video. It'll be linked at the end of this video. But basically, I ended up having to call for rescue because I couldn't get myself out. I couldn't reach my bike to pull myself out. I had loads of thorns in my legs and it was on a bit of a slant and I was just stuck. Okay, I am going to do a little bit more riding, and then I'm going to tell you guys the fifth and final little story of me getting stranded. And save the best till last, eh? Guys, so we have come to the fifth and final time that I got stranded on my bike, and this one was quite a big one because I'd set out with a goal to cycle around the coast of Europe. Essentially, I would start in Calais and I would follow the coast all the way around until about Italy, then I'd cross Italy and then go on to Hungary. So I decided to do this on a fat bike, and the reason I did that is just because I just wanted to do something a bit different than a road bike, and I wanted to just get away from everything. So I did it on a fat bike and everything was going pretty well. I had cycled from Calais to Lisbon, and then it started to get bad because I lost my wallet and I needed to get money, so I contacted my bank. They were able to Western Union me some money. So unfortunately, every time I got to the place where I could collect the money, the place was shut because there was like a bank holiday or something. They do that quite a lot over there. So the last day to pick this money up came, and at this time I was in Lagos, somewhere like that I think, and I found one the day before but it had just shut, so I decided I have no choice but to just camp in Lagos. Basically, I found somewhere where I thought was quiet enough and hidden enough, but unfortunately some little scrunt, as I slept, and I slept right through this as well, managed to come up to where I was sleeping, grab my bag, took everything out of my bag, my laptop, my chargers, my tools, everything, and put the bag back, and obviously took everything. After being robbed while I slept, I basically just carried on for as long as I could. I didn't have much money, I didn't have any tools to fix any issues with the bike. I literally had nothing apart from me and the bike. So I managed to get to Seville by biking, and then I decided, because I haven't got really any money, I haven't got literally any way of getting any more money, I haven't got any tools to fix the bike, I decided that from there I would fly the rest of the way to Hungary. I managed to get somebody to buy me the ticket, and I'd pay them back later. So I actually ended up spending 3 nights in Seville airport with my bike, and I met some really cool people actually, and then I flew to Barcelona, which I spent another 2 nights, and all this time I had about maybe less than 10 euros, probably like 7 euros, and I was literally having to ration myself so much because the only place I could get food from was this vending machine, and it was expensive. It was like, so I was literally living on maybe like a chocolate bar a day for a week, and just drinking the water from the bathrooms. And then eventually I made it to Hungary, but that was probably the worst experience, but it's still an experience. It was still an adventure, and it's still a story that I was able to tell you guys. Guys, that was 5 times that I got stranded on my bike in a ride. I'd love to hear from any of you guys that have been stranded on your ride. Leave some comments down below. Thank you so much for the question, and if anyone else has got any more questions regarding bike packing, bike adventure, leave some comments down below, and I will see you in the next one. Keep smiling, enjoy the adventure.